Kansas State hosting Arizona on Friday. That line right now is -7 Kansas State, 57.5 on the over-under.
Well, this game is really, really interesting. Arizona offensively, blew it out of the water against New Mexico week 1, 61 points. Struggled against Northern Arizona. Only scored 22 points, beat them 22-10. The defense did step up after giving almost 40 to New Mexico. But I think the offense is going to be fine for Arizona. What I am worried about for them is this two-headed rushing attack that's coming in from Kansas State. And it's not just Avery Johnson. It's Giddens, too. Everybody talked about Dylan Edwards transferring from Colorado, Kansas State. This DJ Giddens cat has went for over $1 2 games in a row. And if you watch him, he can give it to you both ways. I mean, he's a guy that's very, very versatile. Is this a game, David, where Avery Johnson is going to have to throw the ball? Not that it's been bad, but I think he had like 24 attempts the first game, 21 attempts. Is Arizona going to stack this box and say, you know what? If you're going to move the ball, Kansas State, Avery Johnson's going to have to do it through the air.
Probably, but even if they stack the box, he's so great in the run game that you're still even, right? Like even in your fits, you're still even because he can give you that advantage with Q power and quarterback design runs. And then if they add in like vertical relief off that in the RPO, that's where I think that Avery Johnson is so good. I'll tell you something else after rewatching the Tulane game this morning that he's just terrific at is escaping the pocket and keeping plays alive with his eyes downfield through a couple touchdowns like that. And look, the thing about it is, if I'm Kansas State, I'm mostly worried about Arizona offensive attack through the air based off what I saw with Tulane. Now, the Mensa kid,
we talked about it.
That kid can flat out play football.
He's a freshman, I think.
Is he a freshman?
A freshman or sophomore, I think.
So he threw for 342. And the interception at the end, Avery Johnson threw, maybe he didn't throw one against Tulane, but look, the Mensa kid is a really good quarterback. You're going to see another one 2 weeks in a row with Fafita coming in. My question to you is, we were talking about this earlier, was McMillan hurt?
I didn't get to watch the Arizona Northern. He had 2 catches for like 11 yards. So Arizona fans, tell us in the chat, did he get beat up or something? I could not find any.
That's a week after a 300-yard receiver.
Well, David, and it's funny. We got to talk about the passing game, Blaine, with Fafita and McMillan. But I'm looking at Kansas State's ability to stop the run.
Not good.
Like it's not that. Not a lot of people are talking about that. So if you're Arizona, right? If you're Coach Brennan over there and you're like, all right, I know I have these weapons at wide receiver. I know I've got good skill position. I'm going to test the run a little bit early to make Kansas State, again, have to funnel resources down if it's working. Or if they're not going to funnel them down, we're just going to keep taking advantage of it, and that's fine. Kansas State's got to stop the run.
Yeah, they got to stop the run and they got to stop the pass. And realistically, how much do you believe in Avery when it comes to passing? If you go back and watch this Tulane game, Tulane had every opportunity to win this football.
Well, yeah, they had a fumble that got scooped and scored at the end.
So I think right now, if I'm going to bet this game, immediately take the over. Immediately take the over. I don't believe in either of these defenses. If I had to believe in one a little bit more, I guess I would lean to Kansas State just because of an identity standpoint of who they've been the last 5 to 7 years. But it's going to turn into, I think, if this receiver, McMillan, is healthy, it's which quarterback can make the biggest play at the end of the game. I think I wouldn't.
Is it who has the ball last?
Wouldn't literally. What I'm about to say is, wouldn't be surprised if this game came down to whoever had the ball last on offense.
Yeah, and or a big special teams play, or you saw what happened in that Tulane Kansas State game. Which, by the way, Tulane goes to play Oklahoma this week too. And after the way Oklahoma looked, and I know we got a bunch of Oklahoma fans that watch the show, that want to hear about that as well. That's not going to be a walk in the park by any stretch of the imagination, but. Going back to Avery Johnson, and one of the reasons that Giddens has been able to have this success, and we always talk about the quarterback run game, is truly how you get a hat on a hat. Well, you want to know one way to kind of even the odds and get it closer. Not that backside defensive end can't fall in the play and tackle the cutback, but every time I have a run action, if I have a running quarterback, even if he's not allowed to keep the ball, I am looking at that backside defensive end because it takes one guy out of the play. So now you're even closer to truly getting a hat on a hat when the running back gets it, if that backside defensive end has to hold. So this game to me is going to be fascinating. I love that they're playing this on a Friday.
Me too.
I like that it's a standalone game. We're going to find out because I think we believe in Utah, right? We feel good about that. Oklahoma State, there's some questions. We're going to find out who may be the second best team in the Big 12 in this game. This really could kind of tell you if Arizona, did they really take a step on defense after, giving up what? over 100 yards rushing to Dampier from New Mexico and over 250 passing, may have been over 300. I can't remember off the top of my head. This is a hell of a matchup. I like the over, but part of me likes Kansas State in this game. I think, Blaine, to harken back to what you're saying, that physical identity, I think it's easier to patch up those problems on defense than it's going to be for Arizona.
And Arizona's extremely young.
And Fafita's not a great runner.
To cover or just to win?
To win. I think Kansas
State. To win outright.
Yeah,
okay,
I think Kansas.
Remember another thing on Gideon's, and maybe you were talking about this, not only did he have the most rushing yards against Tulane, but also receiving out of the backfield. He led the team in receiving too. So that's where a lot of those QB design runs where he's involved in the blocking scheme can easily become rail routes, especially formation to the boundary, not to mention the screen packages and all that kind of stuff. So when you have a back that's so good catching the ball out of the backfield too, it just becomes even that much more lethal against an Arizona defense that I haven't really seen you be dominant just yet in the season.
What's the spread? What's the number on this game?
I believe last time I looked at it was 7.5, correct?
It was 7.5.
Over under was 62.
Wait, so Arizona was minus 7.5?
I'm seeing 7 flat on Kansas State.
Okay.
Kansas
So
State.
it's 7.5.
57.5.
7 flat. Over under right now looks like it's getting bet down a lot, and it's at 58.5.
Well, let that thing keep.
And that might have to do with Arizona fans. How healthy is McMillan?
That's what I need to know.
He's good enough talent to where he will drop a number. Like when it comes to over and unders, like if an injury does come out, I wouldn't be surprised if he's hurt why that number's dropped.
Oh, he's that valuable.
Yeah, he went from 300 yards receiving in a game to 11.
Dude.
Yeah, but is that something where it's like, hey, maybe, he kind of got a little banged up. It's Northern Arizona.
Sure.
Like, do we just,
I don't know.
like a little bit with Cam Rising too, with his hand in that game. I know it was Baylor. I think they were extra precautious with that. Cam is going to be fine. Really cost Utah the cover because they were dominating that game early on. Hey, what's up, YouTube? It's football season. And what that means, subscribe or be lame. Choice is yours. It always is.